Hey legends, Bronson from Escapade. First of all, if you're watching this, it probably means you bought one of our products, namely our rooftop tent. So thank you for supporting our small business. This is a quick tutorial on installing rooftop tents onto platforms, whether it be a Yakima, a Rhino platform, some of those other brands. There's plenty to choose from these days. But behind me, we've got a 150 series Prado with a brand new Rhino rack platform installed, which is the full length 2100 long. First thing to check is your weight ratings. You've got two main ones to focus on. The first one is your vehicle weight rating. So the dynamic one is the important one. It's how much weight your roof can hold while you're driving. Secondly, it's the rack system, the weight that can support. So make sure you check those first before you do anything. If you're not sure, just call us here at Escapade and I'll tell you. But this video, installing it on a platform, in front of me you've got some pretty basic tools. You don't even need this much, but it's just what we've learned along the way. So each tent will have a little fitting kit inside. I'll just get this out for you. So sometimes a little canvas colour bag is tucked away under a mattress or slipped to the back and things as well, so just keep an eye out for them. Inside you will have 8 of these stainless plates, 8 M8 size cup head bolts. That's important to remember because sometimes with different systems you may need to go to Bunnings or a fastener shop and get slightly different length bolts, but they're an M8 cup head bolt. So 8 of those. Always use nylock nuts. And then in your kit, you'll also be supplied with a 13mm ring spanner. Leave this in your glove box. You want to check the bolts before and after long trips especially, but with cars settling on the roof and corrugations and things, you want to just make sure they're always tight. So this is in your fitting kit. Now, there's a few other bits and pieces over here. Basic tools that you'll need for installing on a platform like this one behind me, the Rhino rack platform. You'll need a drill with an 8.5 or a 9mm drill bit. It's only LE, so it's not too hard to drill through. Just be very careful you don't drill all the way through and poke your roof. Use a drill guide or a drill stopper. Make sure you wear glasses. Here I've got a die grinder, which we use here, which is really handy. Instead of trying to drill it on an angle and use the drill bit, we normally use the die grinder to chisel out tiny bits of the lip for the holes, which I'll show you shortly. A deburring tool just to clean up the edges of your drill holes, measuring tape and a marker. So that's all the basic tools. Now the fitting kits will vary depending on models. So majority of our tents have these stainless plates with the square holes cut through them with 4 different adjustment widths. Some of our tents have slightly different style plates with panel plates. So instead of a cup head bolt, these hold a normal M8 size bolt. So that will slide in those, that'll go on the tent rails, that up, and nylock nut underneath. That's to clamp the tent onto it. So these are the basic tools. I'll show you the first step, which is very important. Measure twice, drill once. So you want to measure the center of the groove in the mounted rail to the other one. So there we have 710mm. So you need to remember that number. If you're unsure, measure it again because you can never measure it too many times. Let me walk up and I'll show you from up the top what we actually do. You're probably not going to have this swinging above your head, but when you jump up to the top of the platform, the first thing you do is the measurement from the middle of the mounting rails, in this case was 710mm apart. So you want to come to the platform with the 710mm apart, lines up where I've already pre-diagrammed these little bits out. So mark the centers, you then grab one of the mounting plates. So mark the mounting rail center 710mm, grab one of the plates, sit the holes of the plates on the 2 measurements, so the start to the 710, center them Now you want to try and center it so the reinforcing crossbars of the platform, it's going to clamp around them and onto them. Try to stay away from just mounting it to the aluminium slats. It's stronger if you go around a crossbar as well. Now different systems also may require you to get different size bolts like I mentioned before. So if you do need different sizes, you can pick them up from any fastening store, or you can pop in here to Brendale and I'll give you the right ones you'll need. Mark the centers. A white marker often comes in handy. Mark the centers. With us here, we use a die grinder just to take out a little section of the lip, which you can see I've done here. You grab a deburring tool just to tidy everything up. So that'll get rid of the loose alley on the edges. And then from there, you'll get your drill with either an 8.5 or a 9mm drill bit. You want to go a little bit bigger because it does get quite tricky lining the bolts up with the weight of the tent. So go a little bit bigger, not too big. We normally do 8.5 to 9mm, whichever drill bit I can find first, because we've got tools everywhere. So drill it down. As I mentioned, be extremely careful you don't go all the way through with pressure and ding your roof. It's not something you want to do, and it's extremely avoidable. So use a drill stopper, or if you've got a little piece of pipe you can cut to the right length, put the drill bit inside that and use that as a stopper. So mark each corner, drill the 4 holes, 2 holes on each corner. There's 8 holes in total. If you don't have a die grinder, it's fine. You can get the drill bit, pretending this is a drill bit. Start with a pilot hole on an angle, and then with an 8.5 or a 9mm drill bit, you can go down on an angle and then slowly straighten it up, which will get you to the right distance, the 7/10. Majority of the roof platforms on Patrols, on Prados, the 12, I think they're 1240 wide versions with the full length 2.1 meter platforms. The mounting rails will line up on the grooves of the 2 outer slats. Now, we've had a couple in the past that we used to install years ago where we try and get them, we've actually moved the mounting rails to sit it inside the slats to get it a fraction lower. We've tried this numerous times. We do not do it anymore. The reason for that, it looks awesome, but there's not enough clearance and it rattles its head off. So as soon as you drove out of the dealership or our fitting shops, they just rattle and it's nearly impossible to get right. So we've gone as far as putting rubber adhesive around the edge of the platforms and things like that. But honestly, for an extra 15mm, it'll make your life a lot easier. So try to avoid sticking it inside the grooves, put it on top so there's a little bit more clearance. Drill the holes in each corner, then we'll go to the next step. Plates you got in your fitting kit, the cup head bolts will slide down and sit into the square grooves. You want to put one, roughly just eyeball the centers for now, put one on each corner. At this point, you'll have you and your mates lifting the tent up, carefully lower the tent so the bolts go through the hole. If you look underneath, we've got one bolt lined up each side of this reinforcing crossbar underneath the platform, which is how you want it. Platforms can be an absolute nightmare to try and get your hands in to tighten the nuts once it's lowered down. The way we normally do it now is we actually remove the platform completely, mount the tent to it, which takes a total of 10 minutes, then lower the whole system back down and reinstall the 3 bolts on each side, holding the platform to the backbone. See how you go. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. So it's easy enough to lower the tent down, see if you can get to the nuts underneath here. If you can't, tent back off, platform off. It's only 3 13mm bolts on each side. Alrighty, so tent's down, the bolts are through. If you ever look through here, I've used one of the stainless plates underneath with 2 nylock nuts, which will essentially, once it's tight, will clamp the tent to the crossbars and the slat, so nice and strong. One other thing I forgot to mention before, with this method of installing on a platform, don't stress too much if you haven't got the length centered, because the tent can be adjusted front and back, just not side to side, but your side to side should be centered because you measured and drilled the hole. So Prados are pretty easy because they've got the barn door. You want to make sure you've got clearance for the latches. So if you've got a spoiler, like my Y62 for example, you might want to bring the tent back slightly so the ladder can still hook on and have leverage down. If you have a wider platform, they do them in 1430 or 1375 mil wide ones. It does make things a little bit trickier because, as you can imagine, the ladders will hook on here and go down. If your platform is the wider version and comes out to here, the ladder ends up hitting the platform and not having the correct trajectory. So if that's the case, you may need to space these a little bit further out with different brackets. The last thing as well I wanted to run through with you was we've got brackets to mount awnings and things straight to the sides of our twin channels of our tents, but if for whatever reason you need to put an L-shaped bracket on the platform to mount the awning separately, you want to do that first. So there's about 15 to 20 mil play in between the tent and the platform. You'll just have to get slimline awning brackets with Allen head cup bolts, so it stays nice and low and doesn't clears the tent and doesn't tap when you're driving. So make sure you prep all that first, go through it in your head, draw it out before you get started, because once the tent's mounted, it's very hard to get under there to do other things. So get the tent on, put the plates underneath loose, put the nuts on to hold the plates in place, then adjust it front to back to however you desire. Once it's there, tighten all the nuts with a 13 mil spanner, and that's it.